Give us your injury update, if you will.
Yes, Kuko Martino, I think, was just twisted awkwardly on Saturday and just felt it a little bit. Obviously, he was able to continue, so we're going to have to monitor him, I think, over the next sort of 24 hours just to see whether he's got a chance to make it. But of course, we've got Tom Edwards and Moritz Bauer that are ably ready and waiting to step up. So other than that, I think we're okay. Mam Diouf re-pulled his hamstring towards the end of last week, which we're disappointed with. Sam Kluker's not quite back yet. So yeah, I think there's more or less they're the ones that were in question.
Have you heard any news? Will you be taking bread and water and sitting in the stand tomorrow, or have you heard anything yet?
I've not heard anything yet, but my stance hasn't changed from the weekend. You know, I know exactly what I said. I'd hold my hand up if I felt like it was a really serious offence. What I got told after the game on Saturday was not what I said, and of course the problem is it's going to be my word against the officials, and as we know, usually I'm sure that will end up in some sort of ban and a fine. Which listen, I've spoke about it before. I've spoke about it before we were even in this position. So my stance has not changed. I feel that we've given a lot of power away, and sometimes I think that affects the emotion of the game. So.
You talked about the injury news, and is Peter Etebo available for tomorrow?
Peter Etebo felt his hamstring after the weekend's game, I think it was. What am I talking about? No, after the international break, sorry. After travelling back, his hamstring was sore, so he tried to train on Friday. Didn't feel right to train. Again, probably looks likely that he'll also miss this game, but we'll give him the best possible chance to see if he's fit, you know, because he's a type of player, of course, of this type of game that you would want available. So we've been hit by a few. We've not had many injuries this season, really serious injuries, so we've just been hit by 2 or 3 at one stage that I think particularly affects your options. You know, in wide areas, or that sort of third midfielder in some ways, that type of midfielder. But again, I've spoke about it before. We've got a strong enough squad. I'm certainly not going to bemoan the fact that it's left us with a weak squad, because it hasn't. We've got a very strong squad, and we should be able to win games with the options that we got.
You talked about Joe Allen looking a little bit leggy after seeing the match on Saturday, and that you would have to perhaps think about making some cute changes for tomorrow, and I'm sure that's still in your mind. But when players come back from an international break, you've been a player yourself, you always want to play. How difficult is it to go on their words or make the ultimate decision yourself with the backroom staff?
I think it's really difficult. I mean, again, it's not, you know, I'm responding to your question, which I think is a very good question, in as much as that a lot of clubs, you know, I'm not suggesting it's unfair, but a lot of clubs don't have the issue. Of course, you know, we've got the issue because we've got a lot of international players, and it's a really difficult period because you've got 2 weeks where you want to do a lot of work. The reality is they turn up. I think we had 4 or 5 players that turned up Thursday morning, having come back late Wednesday night. Some had long flights. Some, in the likes of Joe, Ash and James McLean, hadn't had long flights. But of course they played in a really intense game and an intense atmosphere, and then Friday, realistically, because of that, you can't really do much more than 45 minutes training. Therefore, you're going into the game, you're never really going to be completely sure. There's no scientific test, unfortunately, that can measure fatigue really to the level that you can predict how well someone's going to play at the weekend. So what you try and do is, I suppose, you try and put your most influential players out there and hope that they can cope with it. I think that you could probably see Saturday that 3 or 4 of our players that have usually influenced games maybe just lacked that little bit of sharpness to have the influence you'd want. You know, I could still argue that we still got into enough positions and had enough opportunities in the game to create that last little bit, regardless of the physical condition. So, but yeah, so it's difficult. It's not easy to tell. You know, I'm not a massive one. We've been in a reasonably good run of form. So, you know, do you want to then go and make 5 or 6 changes to negate the fact that someone might be fatigued? Then do you change those 5 or 6 back again? It's a difficult scenario, and obviously we're paid to make those decisions. I'm paid to try and make the best call, you know.
looking to the match tomorrow, obviously it's another chance to get back. People will be down, or they will have been down for 24 hours, and now they'll forget about it and looking forward to the game. Sheffield's going to be quite a difficult task, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a difficult game. I think Chris, I've known Chris for a long time. I've played against Chris's Oxford team. I remember playing against his Halifax team for Burton Albion when I was a player. So I've come across Chris quite a lot. Obviously played Sheffield United the past few seasons. I think he's done a really good job there. Obviously he's a Sheffield United fan, which I think always helps with that little bit of synergy. But he's gone and done a tremendous job, and they play a really unique style that you won't come across too often. There's not many games where you'll play against a team with 3 centre backs and one of the centre backs will cross to the other centre back to score, which I think happened against Derby, and it's an unusual style to play against. But the reality is, we've got to... our disappointment, I think, really is down to the fact that whenever we look like we're starting to turn a corner, something happens. And I can argue Saturday that if we come in at 0-0 and we bemoan the penalty shout and we bemoan the fact we haven't quite created enough clear opportunities, but we have missed some opportunities, that we take the point and we're disappointed. But to then get done on probably the one only chance, really, maybe twice that Birmingham ever looked dangerous in the game. We've defended really well for the whole game, and then we switch off for one moment, which at the minute seems to be defining a lot of our games. We spoke about it previously. So I think that's our disappointment. Our disappointment is that we win a couple of games, we look like we're turning the corner in terms of our form, and then we lose one and you're back to square one, and that's the frustration for everybody. That's the disappointment for me and the players. But in this division, I was speaking to Andy Quay earlier, and he said that in the Premier League you have probably 2 midweek games all season. So most weeks, Saturday or Sunday the game, or Monday, you've got the whole week to then prepare and make sure you're ready for the next match. Championship's a whole different ball game. You go Saturday, you got to come in Monday almost unprepared, but get prepared for the Tuesday game. Then you've got to go again. So I think the amount of games that you have, yes, you get an opportunity like this week to bounce back quickly with a stronger performance and a better result, more importantly. But the challenge is always the same, the limited preparation time and understanding who's fit, who's not fit, who's fresh, who's not fresh. So that's a challenge, it'd be a good challenge. Sheffield United, where they are, and have been sort of up and around it for the last 12 months. Had some good games against them before and found the game's a challenge, but we're more than capable of going there. And whilst you have to stop what they do because they play on a real front-footed way at home, but there are lots and lots of opportunities to go and create space against them when you have the ball. So we've got to try and back our players to go and outperform theirs. But they're a good side, they're a strong physical side, and it's going to be a tough game. You've
already mentioned that in this league you can have a 2 or 3 game unbeaten run and climb the table, and just similarly have a bad run and be looking down the league. But when you've got to the situation where we played Birmingham on Saturday, they played very well. A lot more teams will come up and set up like Birmingham did here than will set up like we want them to. But similarly, with the way you're playing our team at the moment, it may suit us tomorrow at Sheffield.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think what we have to do at home is we have to perhaps... I looked at the game afterwards, and you could see during the game we just needed to take a bit more of a risk. It was as simple as that. And maybe the fact that 1 or 2 weren't quite as fresh as they'd like to have been, it was hard to then create that in the final third. But so look, I understand that Saturday we were a little bit too slow with our build-up at times. Yes, we controlled the game, yes, we controlled possession, but we want to do that and create lots of chances and score goals. So we had those elements missing, and it's funny because I could have come in this morning and showed lots of the game and showed lots of our issues in the game, but actually if we do a lot of those things on Tuesday night, it'll actually suit the game because we're away from home. So there's less of a rush to create things, there's less of an opportunity to have to go quickly forward. So it is a game that could suit us, but it's only a game that can suit you at Sheffield United if you deal with what they've got. They've showed against Derby that they can cause you a problem home or away. And you've got to pass the ball well at times, because if you pass the ball well, you turn them into a back 5 and you make them have to defend. But it's like most games. We've been able to impose our game on the opposition, and we've been able to control parts of the game. What at the minute we haven't been able to control as much as we'd like is what happens in their box and what happens in our box, and I would say between those areas we've been pretty good. As we know, the game's not won or lost in those areas, so we've got to make sure the other bits we do equally as well.
And hopefully the players will get all their frustrations out tomorrow and get you a bag full of goals.
It would be nice, wouldn't it? But listen, I couldn't be overly critical of the recent form. I couldn't be overly critical of the way we played recently. I understand the pressures and challenges of a big quality squad that we've got. That every game we don't win is a question mark over why. I get that. That's just normal. But for us, it's about dealing with the games we don't win and trying to improve on that, you know. And certainly we'll go into Sheffield's game with absolutely no fear, but mindful of the fact that, you know, we've got to do things well to go and win the game.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks folks.
Thank you.